subscribers. So thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. So much appreciated to you guys. YouTube sent me a congratulatory email congratulating me on 1,000 subscribers. So thank you guys very much. Just hang on one second. I'm going to get this posted to Chris White's Telegram group so you guys know that I'm streaming. Just hang on one second. Get that. Go ahead and taken care of. And we go ahead and get this copy. Just hang on one second. Thank you guys for tuning in. Much appreciated. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to talk to you guys about what's going on in Africa right now. Okay. Cameron Engelbrett said, "Hey Brett, happy early birthday." Well, thank you very much. I'll be 35 in a few hours, South African time. My birthday is March the 12th, and okay, Clinton Thomas says, "Happy birthday, Brett." Well, thank you very much, Clinton Thomas. Much appreciated to you guys. All right. We're going to talk to you today about what's going on in Malawi, and I think Malawi has messed up with the COVID-19 vaccines. They've gotten the AstraZeneca vaccine, but Malawi is not where Mali is. Malawi is further south, and many Malawians believe that the South African strain has hit Malawi. Well, the AstraZeneca vaccine is only 10 to 15% effective against the 501V2 COVID-19 strain that's prevalent in South Africa. So I think Malawi made a big mistake by going with the COVAX program, and then the COVAX program sending the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine to Malawi. Okay, I just firmly believe that that was the wrong decision that they made. I do like President Lazarus Chakwera, but I do think he made a tactical error in doing that. And but I wish Malawi all the best. I mean, Malawi has been hit really hard with the COVID-19. Now, in the northwestern part of Africa, Mali, which I did a video on, Mali has received the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, but they're in northwest Africa, and a lot of the southern African countries, and Mali, Rebellious Truth, have an amazing birthday on March 12th. Well, thank you, Rebellious Truth, much appreciated. Much appreciated. Well, Mali is in northwest Africa, and they don't have special relationships with the southern African countries as far as I know, and Mali is the first Saharan Sahel African country to receive the COVID-19 vaccines through the COVAX program. And they have received 396,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. And as of right now, Mali has 8,059 COVID-19 cases and 358 COVID-19 deaths. So keep the African nation of Mali as well in your thoughts and prayers. Now, I'm going to talk on some further issues like Disney is going woke, excuse my language, but woke as fuck right now, okay? I'm still a Disney fan. I've gone to Disney, been to Disney World several times, but right now they have that stream called, they have Disney Plus, and I have Disney Plus. I'm a subscriber to Disney Plus. Well, they have profiles that are designed solely for kids as well. But in the kids' profiles, they've taken away key Disney classic cartoons like Peter Pan, because they say Peter Pan gives bad stereotypes to American Indians, which I firmly believe they're very oversensitive with that, and I believe that Peter Pan could stay in the kids section. All right, sorry, Brett, I have school in the morning. I have to go to sleep. Hope you have a great birthday. And by the way, nice Indaba Africa shirt. Thank you very much. I'm part of Chris White's Indaba Africa group, and he's going to be streaming in about 30 minutes or so. But let me go ahead and get this posted to his posted to the comment section of his channel as well if people want to tune in before Chris starts his live stream. Okay, well, let's get back to what I was talking about with Disney. All right, Peter Pan does not. Okay, if you watched Peter Pan, the craziest dude in that film was a white guy who was an assistant to Captain Hook. The guy's name was Smee. He was by far the dumbest and the most eccentric and the most craziest person in that film. Okay? All right, 4 minutes actually. Okay. All right, well, he was, okay, well, thank you, Cameron. All right, in that film. All right? Okay, Cameron, you're tracking the message. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but go ahead. All right, yeah. In the film was the dumbest guy named, there was a dumb white guy named Smee. He was the dumbest guy in the film. There were some portrayals of Native Americans that made them look like they, that they had that they had red skin and but Princess Tiger Lily was kidnapped by Captain Hook, who was a white guy. And Peter Pan, another white guy, saved Princess Tiger Lily. That is just crazy, okay? And then that's not the worst part about it. And you know it's bad when people in Paris, France, and then also California are angry about this situation. There's this ride in Disney World and all the Disney theme parks as well called Peter Pan's Flight. I've been on it several times. I think it's a cool ride, mainly because I grew up with the show Peter Pan. Well, there are the Indians in Peter Pan, or the Native Americans, are in the ride. Well, Disneyland Paris was going to take the Native Americans out of the ride. And then, on top of that, and then Disneyland Anaheim was going to follow suit. So they published a virtual stream of the new Peter Pan Flight ride. Well, and they virtually took the Native Americans out to see what people were going to react. Well, the Disney fans were outraged on Twitter. They said, stop bashing the classics. Stop taking away the Disney classics. Stop taking away the Disney, what we grew up with as children. And this was a backlash in California and in France, which are typically liberal parts of the world. And then another film that they took off the kids' profiles was the Aristocats. And they said the two Siamese cats I'm sorry, not the Aristocats, the Lady and the Tramp, a movie about two dogs. They said the Siamese cats in Lady and the Tramp were negative portrayals of Asians. Let me tell you this. I lived in Asia for over 2 years. I did not see that film depicting Asians in a negative way through those Siamese cats. And when I was in Asia, Disney was very popular in Asia, and there was not big protest or big lashing outs to Lady and the Tramp. And Rebellious Shrew said, oh my gosh, it's crazy. Yes, and this is what I wanted to touch on. And then you go to the Aristocats, they said two of the cats in the Aristocats, they said one of them, because he used chopsticks and he had a look of slant eyes, that it negatively portrayed Asians. Not necessarily. I mean, I don't have any problem with the way Asian eyes look, but that's how they look. And it doesn't bother me at all. And a lot of Asians, when they eat their traditional food, they eat with chopsticks. So this is just how woke Disney has gotten. Now, as an American, I'm not organizing a boycott of Disney because Walt Disney World is the most visited tourist site in the world. Disney is integral to the American economy, and if you organize a boycott, lots of jobs will be lost. Now, I'm not saying that's not being, a wuss or anything else. Aristocats was the best cleverly done. Yeah, I mean, I've had pet cats pretty much my whole life. I like the Aristocats, and I didn't think it portrayed minorities in a negative way. I really didn't. My personal opinion. But what you can do is do like the fans did on Twitter. They gave their opinions. Well, Peter Pan's Flight in Disneyland Paris and Disneyland Anaheim, California, they're not going to be touched. Peter Pan's Flight's going to stay the way that it is. There are people that own Disney stock, and they're shareholders. You can organize shareholders meetings and voice your opinion. And if enough fans do enough fan surveys and vocalize their opinions, then things like that can change. I don't think it's time for a boycott just yet. Now, if we do that step and it doesn't get better, then I think we should. Then I think we should maybe organize a boycott. But I don't think it's gotten to that point yet, because Disney does take into consideration what their customers want. And as you saw on Twitter, when the fans really were vocal, the Peter Pan's Flight ride got put back just the way it was. And that's what I firmly believe that we should do. So that is what I should say do. Okay? That's what I say we should do. Okay, I talked about the woke on Disney's part. Now, this is just crazy on President Biden's part. This is latest news from the U.S. He has a Secretary of Defense who has a distinguished military record. His name is Lloyd Austin. and it's not a hard name to pronounce. It's Lloyd Austin. Okay? He forgot his Secretary of Defense name. There are a lot of rumors out there that Biden is only able to work 2.5 hours a day, and he's the leader of the free world. I firmly believe that he's going to be rendered incompetent by his cabinet and Vice President Kamala Harris, and within 6 months, Kamala Harris will be the president of the United States. Even though, as Chris White pointed out, she only got about 2% of the Democratic primary vote. She only got 2% of the Democratic primary vote, but she may be president of the United States in 6 or 7 months, which may very well happen. Now, one thing I do like that Biden is doing, one of the first places he's going to be touring on his international tour is South Korea and Japan. He's going to try to amend a broken U.S.-South Korea alliance. I mean, most Americans and most South Koreans want the alliance to be strong, but Trump messed that up. South Korea has agreed to pay about 12 to 13% more of the defense sharing cost. But if North Korea ever attacks South Korea, the United States has what one calls operational control. And so the United States makes the decisions on how to counterattack against North Korea. That's the main reason the United States pays more, even though for the bases in South Korea. And that's something that Trump did not look at. So that has happened. I mean, Trump, that is something, like I said, that Trump didn't pay attention to, and I'm glad that Biden will be touring South Korea and he will be touring Japan. Now, under Trump, the alliance with Japan overall remained pretty strong. It wasn't as wrecked as I thought it was going to be, and Trump never threatened to pull troops out of Japan like he did South Korea as much. So that's basically what transpired there. So yeah, that's basically what transpired over there. So yeah, it's crazy how it's crazy that Disney's becoming woke as anything, and right now their main goal is social justice and not making profits, but it's going to backfire on them. They're already alienating some of their customers. Number two, Biden cannot remember his own Secretary of Defense names. I thought it was a good pick. I mean, I think Lloyd Austin will be a good Secretary of Defense, but President Biden needs to be able to remember the name of his own Secretary of Defense. I mean, that's just asinine that something like that is transpiring. But unfortunately, it is transpiring. Now, I know I disagree with a lot of you guys over the mask mandate, but I will say this: when our governor of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, lifted the mask mandate, cases have gone up. That we had over 479 cases yesterday. New cases. They probably are not going to go up any further than that because most of Mississippi is getting vaccinated. So I firmly believe that we're going to be okay with that if enough people get the vaccine. Now, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is useless in the southern part of Africa, and I wish, like I said, that Malawi should have not went along with it. But we don't have the Oxford AstraZeneca in Mississippi. It's either Pfizer or Moderna. And in August of 2021, actually, Moderna has agreed to supply the Philippines with 13 million doses of the Moderna vaccine. And the Moderna vaccine is actually very, very effective. And before that, the Philippines went with the Sino vaccine, which was less than 50% effective against the regular COVID-19 strain. And it's only 10 to 15% effective against the South African COVID-19 strain. But the South African COVID-19 strain, believe it or not, has been found in the Philippines. So going with Moderna was the smart move, but the Moderna vaccines are not going to arrive in the Philippines until August of 2021, until August of this year. But right now, there's a lot of Filipinos distrustful of the Sino vaccine because of its ineffectiveness, and they're not going to get the vaccine, a lot of them, until the Moderna vaccine arrives in the Philippines, and that is basically what's going. That's basically what's going on over there. That's basically what's going on over there at the moment. So, so yeah, basically that's what's going. That's basically what's going down in the Philippines at the moment. And as you guys know, I've talked about this before. Namibia is still going with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, despite the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine being ineffective against the South African strain. And the South African strain has been found in Namibia, obviously, because Namibia is right on the border with South Africa. Now, here is some positive news about what's going on in Africa in the Central African Republic. The Red Cross was able to complete a 1,140 kilometer journey to where they needed to go into the Central African Republic to aid many of the refugees over there. Typically, a lot of the supplies from the Central African Republic come in from Cameroon, but many of the rebel organizations have blocked stuff coming in from the UN because they believe the UN is secretly aiding the government, and they kept a lot of Cameroon government aid or any other government aid from Western countries to getting there. But when it got in the Red Cross hands, the rebels allowed the Red Cross to go to the refugees that had been displaced due to all the fighting. So the rebels, not the rebels, but the refugees have been able to get some aid through the Red Cross, and that was positive news like a day ago, because over 200,000 residents have been displaced from their homes in the Central African Republic due to all the infighting between the government forces and the rebel forces. And I've talked about this before on my live stream, but that is actually some positive news that the Red Cross was able to go in there and get aid for that. Also, in the West African nation of Liberia, Japan is going to aid Liberia with $75,000 worth of fishing equipment. The fish in Liberia basically account for 60% of Liberians' annual protein intake, but in spite of that, many of the fishermen have inferior fishing equipment. They have damaged boats, and they don't have a lot of proper fishing equipment to keep the fish sanitary before processing. Well, Japan is going to aid Liberia with $75,000 worth of updated equipment, and the fish processors, the people who are fishing either on the boat or on port in Liberia, actually over 60% of them are women. So this is, and with this updated equipment, it's going to help women in Liberia become more self-sufficient and more independent. So props to Japan for aiding Liberia in terms of that. So thank you Japan very much for doing that, and that's gonna be a good help to the Liberia's economy. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay, Chris Wyatt pointed this out, so I don't want to talk about this too much, but Anglican bishops want the oil drilling in Namibia to stop, and I'm concerned if it's done incorrectly, it may damage the environment, but Namibia needs this oil money, and I'm going to explain why. Namibia, their tourism industry, because of the COVID-19, has been hit by $220 million. They've gone down $220 million in the tourism industry. Their diamond industry, the aquatic diamonds where people go to the sea and get diamonds, the aquatic diamond or marine diamond industry has decreased by 13%. Namibia needs to find oil to help build up their economy. Namibia's economy, like a lot of countries right now on the COVID-19, are going on the downhill. I understand the concern about the environment, but right now Namibia needs a strong economy. I firmly believe Namibia needs a strong economy. Now, another thing that I'm going to touch on, as most of you guys know, if you guys have seen the movie Hotel Rwanda, I want to talk about that, okay? Hotel Rwanda, I firmly believe, was just a work of fiction. Don Cheadle played Paul Rusesabagina, who was the manager at the Mille des Collines, which supposedly housed a lot of refugees and kept them from the kept them from being thrown to the Hutu majority government, or the RGF, the Rwandan ground forces, and being massacred. Well, there's a lot more to it than that, okay? Paul Rusesabagina allowed the Hutu, the RGF, to operate on the ceiling of his hotel and allowed them to set up radio propaganda at his hotel. And he would always threaten to send the refugees out if the refugees didn't pay their money. Well, a lot of the refugees didn't have money going in, so a lot of the wealthy visitors there had to help pay for the refugees to come there. And then there was a lot, I mean, but then the UN sent some money aid as well to that hotel, but there was a lot of rumors, a lot of the hotel workers weren't getting paid during that time, but UN was sending some aid money out to that hotel to keep the refugees safe. But there's a lot of rumors that Paul Rusesabagina pocketed that money. And Paul Rusesabagina, before he got arrested in Rwanda by Paul Kagame, Paul Kagame is the leader of the current government of Rwanda. Paul Rusesabagina, after the Rwandan genocide, he fled to Belgium, and he's a Belgian citizen, and he also has permanent resident status in the United States. And he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President George W. Bush, or former President George W. Bush. Well, Paul Rusesabagina says he was tricked into going back to Rwanda and being arrested by Paul Kagame. Now, Joe Biden is doing the correct thing here. He's staying out of it, even though Paul Rusesabagina's daughters are begging Joe Biden to get involved. Here's the thing with that, okay? There's more to it than meets the eye. Paul Rusesabagina spoke in favor of the Hutu majority government in 1994. He praised a lot of the genocide that was happening. He threatened to kick his visitors out unless they paid. So a lot of the wealthier visitors had to pay to keep the refugees there. And then the UN sent some money for there, but there was a lot of the hotel workers weren't getting paid, so there's a lot of rumors that Paul Rusesabagina may have pocketed the money in that situation. I firmly believe. And if that didn't happen, he has a weird way of showing it, because he, when he gives public speeches, he charges outrageous fees for public speaking. And Edward Kayihara wrote a book called Inside Hotel Rwanda. Edward Kayihara was in that hotel at the time when the 1994 Rwandan genocide was going on. And Paul Kagame does a lot of things in Rwanda, the current Tutsi ruler of Rwanda, that I don't like, and he rules with an iron fist. Now Rwanda's economy's gotten better. Rwanda has gotten safer, and there's almost no murder there nowadays. But he rules with an iron fist. He doesn't allow freedom of assembly. He doesn't allow freedom of speech. But there's some middle ground truth to this. Paul Rusesabagina bashed Paul Kagame's government as soon as Paul Kagame took power. That much we do know. And we do know that he allowed the Rwandan ground forces, or the Hutu majority army, to operate and set up radio and satellite on his hotel. That we do know as well. So, and Romeo Dallaire, who Nick Nolte plays in Hotel Rwanda, was based on the Canadian Army general. In the movie, he was a colonel. But Romeo Dallaire and Paul Rusesabagina have never met in real life. Romeo Dallaire and Paul Rusesabagina never made contact with each other, and Romeo Dallaire hated the film Hotel Rwanda. Romeo Dallaire denounced the film. He hated it. He said it was just all Hollywood. It was badly historically inaccurate. And I believe that I'm going to leave it at there. So, I went about 25 minutes. Well, hang on. It says I got another person coming in, so I'll continue to talk. So, don't take the film Hotel Rwanda at face value. It does touch on there was a Hutu majority genocide against the Tutsi minority. That much the film does touch on, but the film was not very well researched. It's badly historically inaccurate. When I first saw it, I honestly did like the film, but then I read the book Inside Hotel Rwanda by Edward Kayihara, who was actually a refugee in that hotel when all that took place. And my opinion about that film went way down. So yes, Paul Rusesabagina is in prison, standing trial for treason against Paul Kagame, but Paul Rusesabagina had been Paul Kagame's enemy for a long, long time. And Paul Rusesabagina, as soon as the Rwandan genocide ended, he left Rwanda. He has bashed the Paul Kagame government ever since the Paul Kagame government, ever since they took power. So I firmly believe that President George W. Bush should have not awarded Paul Rusesabagina the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I just think that was irresponsible on President George W. Bush's part, and I believe that there should have been more research before doing something like that. So, like I said, and the film Hotel Rwanda honestly was largely filmed in South Africa, even though it was a film about Rwanda. Yeah. So like I said, don't take that at face value. I do know that a popular Paul Kagame dissident was in South Africa, and Paul Kagame has had a history of carrying extrajudicial assassin killings, going overseas and sending in his forces to do so. Like I said, I'm not as big of a fan of Paul Kagame, but I think Paul Rusesabagina was just as bad, if not worse. So that's basically what I'm trying to tell you guys. So, hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to end this right here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless. And bye-bye. Bye-bye.